Lieutenant Commander Bellina, you're recognized for 5 minutes for a statement, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me here to speak today. I don't think I'm on.
Now you're on.
Is that better? Oh yeah, way better. All right. And my diaphragm is failing a bit here, so if I get hard to hear, Mr. Mott, if you give me a poke, I'll know that I gotta speak up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to speak here today. I also want to extend a heartfelt thank you to my representative, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick. He's been a tireless advocate, not only for the ALS community, but for all terminally ill Americans. In my advocacy work, I've met literally thousands now, terminally ill people and their families, and the vast majority ask me, how can anybody oppose the right to try bill? I appreciate that sentiment, but I also do respect the fact that there are well-meaning people with ideological differences. I would like to illustrate the arguments I've heard and why I believe they're based on faulty logic. The one that I hear all the time, and it's been thrown around a lot today, is, we have this expanded access program. We already approved 99%. Why do we need this bill? On average, there are less than 2,000 applications per year. By conservative estimates, there are nearly 30 million Americans living with incurable conditions. I'd like to draw an analogy. Imagine there were 30 million Americans eligible for food stamps, 2,000 applied and were approved. The other 29,998,000 never completed the application, and they starved to death. Would we be congratulating ourselves on that kind of stat? That never offends me. The major difference I see is that food stamp reform would involve a fiscal note, and this bill doesn't. So, in my mind, it's better. The FDA's involvement, and really Dr. Gottlieb, I think, did a great job. Their involvement, they've tried so hard, but their involvement has a chilling effect on the manufacturers, and that is the supply issue that he was talking about. The other argument I hear pretty often is that the state right to try bills have had little impact, so why should we pursue a federal bill? The 100 or so cancer patients in Texas that you mentioned would have a very different opinion, but let's assume for argument's sake that 100 people is not enough for us to make an effort here today. I think the big issue is the courts and their broad interpretation of the Interstate Commerce Clause. Most pharmaceutical companies are trying to sell a drug in more than one state. So, we need a federal law to protect them in that case. I'm sympathetic. You're going to hear from Mr. Muck here in a minute and other pharmaceutical executives. I know this makes, it makes their job harder when, you have patient communities and social media calling them out, why aren't you giving the drug to this person or that? I would say the issue is that, they have to have the courage and tell the community what they think is right and wrong. And sometimes the answer is no. And I do appreciate that, but we can't let the FDA be the bad guy. And I'll sum up by saying, I know it's probably too late for me. I made my peace with that. I need to know before I die that if my children find themselves in this unenviable position, this nation that I proudly serve will respect their liberties and the right to make their own decision about their medical treatments. Thank you for having me. God bless.